In southern Panama, at the thinnest part of the cord that joins North and South America, there's an intense wilderness called the Darien. It's a place that bursts with life and danger, with jungle, river, rock and mountain. In 1983, 3 old friends almost died there.
When this started, we were totally unprepared.
Niels was leaving markers, but it was risky.
We weren't aware of how the natives traveled.
The only person who could barely keep up with them was Niels.
We'd go for hours and hours not knowing where they were, literally crawling on hands and knees by mid-afternoon.
Dave and I were having a lot more difficulty, and we're falling further and further behind.
We weren't drinking enough, we got weaker.
By mid-afternoon, I was completely exhausted.
We started to realize this was starting to become a bit of a life-threatening situation. We had no way out.
Panama City, Panama, Panama.
Now they're back to find the people who saved them from this place before, and to test again their strength and courage against the Darien Gap.
It's good, it's very good.
Niels Hollum owns a ski store in Montreal. He's a Sinbad, a man who wanders for the love of it. John Burke spent 7 years as a young man on the world's roads. Now he owns an adventure travel business in Kingston.
Right there,
David Peel's a Toronto suburbanite and a corporate executive with a pent-up longing for another pilgrimage. They came to the Darien 15 years ago, chasing a dream they'd shared since school days. They found that in this world, they were babies.
We left here from Panama City and headed into the Darien with the idea of trying to get through to Colombia.
They had no real map, no experience, no knowledge.
Everything was an unknown. The only thing you knew was what was right under your feet at that very moment.
There, trails guttered out like candles. The 3 innocents got lost. Then they encountered 2 angels, Norberto and Bienvenida, traveling back to their tiny farm in Colombia.
They really opened our eyes. They traveled really just by their senses. They weren't following trails.
The couple led the Canadians through the mountains for 3 days. Norberto and his wife could read the land, find order and direction in the chaos. Without them, the Canadians surely would have died.
They were incredibly kind to us. They were honest, and they saved our lives.
It was the greatest trip of my lifetime. It was the perfect balance of mystery, of adventure, contact with the spectacular nature.
You'd think an experience like that would inoculate you against another one, but 15 years later they're back, 3 innocents, past 50 and looking for more.
We'd really like to be able to find Norberto and Bienvenida again. It's what is bringing us back here. It gives us clear motivation. It would bring them a lot of happiness. We could sort of adopt them.
Adoption's an odd word for Niels, who has no spouse, no children, just travels. In the last 2 years, Nepal, Greenland, Arctic Russia, and more.
The thing that keeps moving me is I know I have never regretted a journey. John, Dave, and I, we shared every moment. So, of course, whenever we get together, we talk about this.
This is great.
The Pan American Highway runs from Alaska to the tip of South America. It is almost continuous. It's broken only at the Darien Gap. "15 years ago, there was a sleepy little hamlet here. Now it's bristling with guards and guns. From places like this, the Panamanian Civil Guard monitors the Colombian Civil War to the south. On their last journey, the travelers faced jungle, thirst, and despair. There's more than that out there now. The jungle along the border is full of guerrillas, bandits, right-wing militias, drug runners. The three can risk it if they want to. They should not, however, have any illusions. A soldier who faces danger as a job thinks people who do it as a hobby are lunatics. But be my guest.
Río más grande de Darien. Si un viaje especial para ustedes, hay un bote ahí que lo lleva.
Bueno, gracias, señor. Gracias. 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 Okay. I guess Métis was our first little warning that something has changed. I guess our antennae are up. Anyways, we'll take it one town at a time. They were pretty agreeable.
Very accommodating. There was no problem at all.
No. I guess it's
Probably a day-to-day.
Dave's regular jungle is the pharmaceutical industry, and he's just had a big promotion. He's happy, his family is happy, but he's restless.
Not quite the winter temperatures we have at home.
The other two are always roaming and daring. Dave describes the risks he takes in the language of the office.
I wouldn't be satisfied unless there were a tremendous challenge ahead of me. Some opportunities that need addressing and continuous improvement type of mindset within the organization to make a difference, be a change master.
It's exciting again to realize that we've come to the end of this infamous Pan-American Highway, where this is where it stops and picks up again in Colombia. So whether we'll be able to connect the two is something that we're anxious about, and we're going to try it.
Ahora sí lo puede, ¿verdad?
It's lovely, but you could get such scenery on a tourist cruise, playing bridge in the lounge while the jungle glides by. Why this way? John Burke from Kingston.
People that I befriend tend to be people who are independent enough that they can easily step back, and we won't talk for a year or two, yet when we come together again, it will be easy and spontaneous. This is a chance to really get to know what's happening in our lives, what's happening with our families, what's happening with our jobs, what's happening with our philosophies. With every journey, whether you're 20 or whether you're 63, it's partially a spiritual journey. You're looking for something about yourself.
The rivers from Colombia meet the sea at the town of El Real. This is the edge of the Darien Gap. Here the Spanish loaded the gold from the mines in the mountains onto ships for home. El Real was the end point of an enormous enterprise. Now the Darien jungle has casually erased all that. The guns and the drugs have chased away the faint-hearted. The descendants of the Aboriginals and the black slaves have the place almost to themselves. Panamanian police use El Real as a helicopter base. At first, they're suspicious, but there's something so innocent about these gringos.
Oh, wow. This is a good map.
Here.
This is a proper map.
Yeah.
15 years ago, when we walked,
There's a book.
here's Union Choco, and then Paya, following to Colombian called Norberto and his wife Bienvenido. They were had been working Panama City and they were returning to their farm. And there was no trail, and we didn't have a map. Our map was very poor, so we didn't know where we were going for many days. He just said we were going to Colombia.
You see some people here? A lot of people?
15 years ago, we saw no people.
No people. Yeah.
No people. We didn't see.
Now it's be quiet over there. Now it's be careful over here. This side.
Why?
Yeah, very,
Why?
very.
Why?
Because of the guerrilla.
The Colombian.
Yeah.
Colombian guerrillas.
Yeah.
Have they crossed the border into the Panama side? The Colombian guerrillas?
No, not really, but over there very, very dangerous.
Yes, eh?
They almost died here 15 years ago without the help of men with guns. Now the terrain between the innocents and their angels is full of fret and murder. This way is closed. They're not going through, they're going around. The direct route to the mountain farm, the route of 15 years ago, is far too dangerous, full of guerrillas fighting right-wing militias. The river takes them south, but also west. To reach Norberto and Bienvenida, they'll have to circle around and come back. It's an extra 2 or 3 days of traveling, but it's safer, maybe.
The Colombian border would be there, right?
Yeah, would it? Where the yes, but more or less.
Okay.
We were here on one of these bends, so.
The opportunity to not know what's around the next corner in the river, where the next meal's going to come from, what sort of environment we'll find ourselves. It's all part of the adventure, all part of the excitement. That's why we're here.
Let's try to get some food here for sure.
Plantain and bananas, rice and beans.
Yeah.
Rice and beans would be great, actually. Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Es su bambina?
Una cocobola.
Oh, that's so nice.
También está vendiendo ella jijeme, maíz.
Muchas gracias. ¿Maíz?
Están vendiendo.
My type of traveling is what I might call cultural traveling. So I'm an observer. I'm not part of it, but I like the observation. You know, some of my most interesting times or memories are sitting on the steps of a temple in Kathmandu, or sitting with my legs out the side of a train going through southern India. Completely involved in the experience of a kind of freedom that traveling gives you, where you have no agenda.
Okay, gracias.
There's always one question at the back of the traveler's mind. What do the privileged passers-by leave behind them? What's the effect of an instant photograph on the village of Tucuti? Good? Bad? Does it matter? Who could stop it?
Pequeño, grande, 16, 19 y 2.
The first question that always comes your way is, could you tell us about your wife or your kids, or where are they?
Amiga.
Mi casa y Canada. Here.
Canadá, la casa.
Nueva. No, mucho frío. When I say I'm not married and have no kids, their immediate reaction is to feel really sorry for you. It usually becomes a look of outright concern on their part. I think in this lifetime, settling down probably won't be an option, but I've considered it for next lifetime. It seems to be a really popular thing. People seem to enjoy it. I notice people all over the world are doing it. It's just, I don't really see having the time.
Los ríos.
Los ríos es Río y Canadá.
Sí.
Solo hielo.
As many people, I think, in their 50s. I'm still 25 until I look in the mirror.
We could swim to the next village.
That's right.
50 has meant nothing. What I haven't experienced yet, and I think this will start to come and things will change, is illness and death in some of my friends. And as you hit late 40s and 50s, there are going to be those who will die of strokes or heart attacks or those things that tend to be common in a fast-paced life.
This is the junction where you say, "Can I give you a hand?"
Oh yeah,
and I
that's
say,
right.
"Sure."
Sure. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, fuck you, fuck you.
Oh,
Fuck you.
yeah.
You don't help me, I'm gonna get my skill.
The thoughtful travelers are heading for the village of Manene, looking for a guide to take them the last 50 kilometers to the Colombian border.
You're approaching the mountain range, the frontier, which means the rivers get swifter, the villages get smaller, and finally the rivers are too swift and shallow to support any population. Of course, that's the excitement. You can sense that you're approaching the frontier.
Manene has a cleanness, a sweetness to it. There hasn't been a gringo here in 15 years.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Okay.
¿Cómo estás?
Buenos días. Niels.
How are you?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Buenos días, señor.
All right.
Arriving in a village is always difficult because you don't know what to expect. You're intruding into their neighborhood, and the neighborhood in a village is much more open than the neighborhood in a North American town. So it's like walking into someone's living room. There's always that caution.
¿Es posible un lugar para dormir esta noche?
Ahí.
En Campmont?
Ajá. Donde usted quiera, aquí o allá.
Sí.
Sí, vayan a visitar donde ustedes van a. ¿Quiere, pues?
Está bien, está bien.
To North American eyes, Manene looks like a playground, a theme park. But there's no registration desk, no gift shop, and at this time, no guide. If the three want to reach Colombia, they'll need a guide from here. It seems that may take time.
Gracias, gracias. Oh my God. Oh, that's a lot of work. I wish I could help them.
The children of the village are less apprehensive about visitors. They're very much more curious. They're less inhibited. And so making that connection with children makes it easy.
What happened to that nice rhythmic sound? Oh. And it's splashing out. We'd get fired.
What's your hand?
It's no bueno. No.
My arm's tired already.
Okay, wait, you gotta get that.
There's a cultural collision under the surface here. The villagers know they live in paradise. If you've gotten to Manene, why would you want to move on? The travelers are still locked onto their destination, their mission. This is pleasant, but which way to Colombia? All in good time, we shall see. And Manene wins. The travelers slow down a little.
We're so happy to be here. It's everything that people try to achieve ultimately with their urbanized life, is on their brakes to try to exactly duplicate what the people have here all the time. They obviously have to really struggle to survive here. Nothing comes easy.
The travelers are still struggling. It's a contest between the desire to understand where they are and the compulsion to move on. The villagers say simply, look.
It's hard to believe that this is how the life of a dugout begins. 5 men cutting for 2 weeks to shape the boat, and then upwards of 50 men to carry it down to the river. What I always find remarkable is, out of all this, there's this joy that you feel from the people. This is what a lot of travelers seek, is to find that joy that is shared by these types of communities. And you have to go far to find them, but it's always worth the trip.
After 2 days, the villagers point the way onwards. The border is at the head of the river.
Rio Balsa.
Una días barco a frontera?
No hay barco aquí.
No posible. Caminar solo.
Sí.
Rio.
Motor.
Everyone here has relatives in Colombia, but they don't visit anymore. It's peligroso, dangerous.
No.
Peligroso?
Peligroso, sí.
Peligroso.
Ajá, peligroso, peligroso.
¿Por qué peligroso?
Mucha guerrilla.
¿Guerrilla?
Ajá.
Ah, ¿y bandido?
Bandidos aquí no hemos, no aquí no.
Guerrilla.
Guerrilla, sí. Pero en Colombia.
Sí,
¿Paramilitar? Sí, sí, paramilitar.
A few hours up the river, guerrillas are mixing it up with right-wing militias, the death squads. Villagers are caught in the crossfire.
Colombia es peligroso, Panama es tranquilo.
Tranquilo, sí.
Tranquilo. Okay, so he says if you go into Colombia, it's dangerous.
Another route to the Angels is closed. And the Canadians' lives are calling them back. A post-50 voyage of self-discovery is all very well, but there may just be time for one more attempt. The Canadians have been in the Darien for a week, struggling to reach Colombia and their friends, the Angels named Norberto and Bienvenida, who saved their lives once. The routes they've tried so far have been too dangerous.
What we've decided to do is to head back to Boca de Coupe. We've heard in Boca de Coupe that there will be information as to what kind of activities, guerrilla activities, paramilitary activities are going on. Initial information is that it is not safe, that it is what they call a red zone beyond that.
They're back on the route they traveled in 1983. But nobody then talked about a red zone, guerrilla country, no man's land.
She's talking about the guerrillas?
Colombia.
What was she saying, John?
That there are guerrillas in Colombia and also in Panama, the same ones, and they'll shoot you.
Yeah. There were, and she mentioned bandidos too, eh?
Now everyone's scared stiff. There have been attacks, murders, abductions all along the river.
fighting nature is one thing, fighting
bullets
bandits is another.
And none of it has a death wish, but
No.
if it looks reasonable, then
We'll see. Yeah, exactly.
Boca de Coupe, the crossroads of the big Darien rivers. They're running short of time here. The Angels' farm lies on the other side of a red zone. But how dangerous is that red zone? They made friends in this town in 1983, but it's not a sweet little village in the jungle. It's a police town, a barracks on the edge of the red zone. In a place like this, an outsider needs a fixer, a local to smooth the way. This is Luis Puleo, former soldier, a man who knows every corner of the Darien. He knows a route into Colombia.
Unos turistas están filmando.
Luis Puleo connects them with Teniente, Lieutenant Erazo. The Teniente runs this detachment. He'd normally send the travelers back to the capital, but they're with Puleo. He'll talk.
our original plan was for us to go to Paya and into Colombia. Is that a problem to do that?
Our chief say always, sí, no?
Be careful.
Claro.
Erazo doesn't put a toe in the red zone. He's been promised a helicopter. Mañana.
We're waiting to the Panamanian chopper to increase patrolling in the border of Colombia.
The normal route from Boca de Coupe to the border is out of the question. When will they start to listen?
We kept hearing the message time after time after time, refused to believe it until we actually got to Boca del Coupe. But clearly we're not here to go down as great martyrs trying to relive an experience and never be seen again as we disappear into Colombia.
Where are you suggesting to take us?
Time has now become as serious a problem as safety. They have no more days for speculative wandering. They should be on their way back to Panama City. But the farm is only 60K over the mountains. And there is a way.
Okay. We are here.
The Cana Valley is so remote that bandits and guerrillas might not bother with it. But time has them in a shrinking box. It's a thought, maybe a plan.
That direction.
And who's this? They were starting to feel they'd never again meet anyone they know, that their trip 15 years ago was a fantasy.
160 degrees compass.
But here's Victor, their boatman from 1983. He brought them up the river. They hunted iguana for food. Tastes like chicken.
Gracias. Yeah, I do remember.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Iguana.
Sí.
Well, maybe. Victor has lifted them. They're focused again, and their angels are close. Maybe it can be done. Luis can do it. They walk into the jungle, into the falling night, and into their memories. Lost, weary, scared when Norberto and Bienvenida came upon them. But still, the rescue was torture.
When this started, we were totally unprepared. We had no idea. We hadn't walked with them before. We had just met them.
As we traveled, we found out that the route might well have been good for them, but for us, it was cutting through untrailed jungle.
We weren't aware of how the natives traveled.
The only person who could barely keep up with them was Niels.
Throughout the day, I'd just been catching this glimpse of Bienvenido's red cotton dress. If I could see this flash of red in the woods, I knew I was safe.
Dave and I were having a lot more difficulty, and we're falling further and further behind.
We go for hours and hours not knowing where they were, literally crawling on hands and knees by mid-afternoon.
We weren't drinking enough, we got weaker. And I remember climbing up this long, steep mud embankment. And upon raising my head, I looked up. There was no more cotton dress. And at that point, I remember I just sat down like a stone. I couldn't move.
In fact, I remember very well at one point just collapsing on the path, lying with my face to the side, and a snake came by very, very close to me, and my feeling was, well, strike me if you must, I'm not moving.
One thing that helped me get up in a hurry, I'd look down at my hand, and there was a big, I can only assume it was a scorpion. Anyways, it was a big furry spider. We started to realize this was starting to become a bit of a life-threatening situation. We had no way out.
We were all able to struggle almost one by one further up the mountain in the hope of making contact again with Norberto.
I shouted, I yelled, I sat, I rested, I walked, I yelled, until suddenly I heard an answer.
We got to the top of a peak of one of the ranges, and here was camp all set up for the evening, dinner ready and waiting for us, and it was probably the best five-star hotel I ever moved into that evening. It was just such a relief to catch up with Niels and with Norberto and Bienvenido and realize that we were all together and still on our way into Colombia.
Perfect. Try the other side.
I've got you from the top of the head to the chin and all.
Wait, I guess you'd start with the top one. Which one comes first?
Put your machete up too.
Well, yeah. Oh, you have the technique. No, you don't. It's all down your front.
Memories of despair and rescue. And now, older, tracking their memories. Their guide is Luis Puleo. He's like Norberto and his wife. He belongs here. He's polite to the Canadians, who must sometimes seem like babies. He's a teacher.
Black mud.
It's good.
More protective.
Are there a lot of mosquitoes in here?
Yeah, there are a lot of mosquitoes. This is life. Oh, fine. Good. Good. Wow.
He's taught us self-sufficiency and to travel light. But he's just taught us that there's no such thing as a hostile environment, only really a lack of understanding or experience.
Fresh and pure.
I can't imagine Luis being anywhere else in the world except in Darien. He is at one with this place on earth. This is his passion, this is his whole life, and it's a remarkable thing to see.
Quipa tree. How many years old do you think?
Well,
Hundreds?
400,
400?
500.
So who knows?
The Cana Valley is the heart of the Darien. Under the jungle, there's gold. The Aboriginals found it. The Spaniards fought them for it. Freebooters from a dozen nations tried their luck in these mountains.
Wow. Look at this, eh?
If you strike your machete on a rock, you can hear the echo of a buccaneer's sword. The storytellers called the Cana Valley El Dorado. It's Espiritu Santo, the Holy Spirit mine. In its time, the richest gold mine in the Americas, abandoned, decrepit, still colossally alluring. In 1702, when pirates captured the mine from the Spanish, Cana produced more gold than all the other mines in the Americas put together. At the turn of the century, the British were running the mine, and the town around it was the second biggest in Panama. Espiritu Santo was abandoned suddenly in 1912. The reason is shrouded in mystery.
So they were bringing the ore up from
the shaft into the smelters, presumably.
And then it's gone.
It's just disappeared.
And the local people say there's still gold here.
Yeah.
Oh, what a mystery to think that this railway line goes all the way to Boca de Coupe.
Right.
I mean, the investment.
Right down to the river.
Yeah, right down to the river.
Yeah.
Feels nice.
They've been walking for 2 long days. They're close to the border now, high in the Darien Mountains, and up against the calendar.
Well, there's no snake.
They must reach Colombia tomorrow or turn around. And if they turn around without reaching their angels, what would they really have accomplished?
Come on, boot. Oh, man. This trip probably couldn't have come at a better time in life, looking at major change ahead of me in life. Here is the total break, the opportunity to get away with 2 wonderful friends and reliving an adventure we did 16 years ago and one we started talking about 30 years ago. The pause that refreshes. Man, I got a couple of great blisters on my big toes. You have that common ground in life that goes back to your roots, really. Very, very important part of life.
This is a pretty critical time. Around 50, you've done probably the bulk of what you are going to have done. So words like retirement come into conversations. Are you thinking of making a change? Are you thinking of selling a business? We're getting to learn a lot about ourselves, and I think it helps each of us to see our own lives with more depth. So it's great to be with them.
Well, we'll see if they dry overnight, probably not.
As much as it's easy to sit here and talk about what it is you want to do, in fact, there's a program inside you that all you're trying to do is find it and follow it. And if the idea of returning to the Darien comes up, you want to be able to say yes, because that's who you are.
The friendship, certainly, they'll have that. The images of the great Darien jungle. But Norberto and Bienvenida are still out of reach. They have 1 more day. The head of the Cana Valley. There it is, that blue ridge under the clouds, Colombia. And suddenly here on the outer fringe of Panama, a police patrol and bad news. Colombian guerrillas and death squads are having it out across the mountains. The Panamanians can hear the shooting.
Compañía civil en donde me imagino que Panamá le daba algún tipo de protección. Pero como el oro es más difícil de encontrar, entonces el oro vale. Like the best route to go to Colombia is that.
Yes. What would you figure from here to the Colombian border? How long?
How long?
Walking.
Walking? Well, 2 days and a half.
2.5 days.
Because there are no trails.
2.5 days through the red zone. They can see Colombia, but to get there, it's like being punched in the stomach.
Because it doesn't look that far, does it?
With the compass. Yeah. More adventure.
The inability to get through to Colombia, I guess, is the biggest disappointment we've had, and potentially see Norberto and Bienvenido, who took us through last time. The instability on the Colombian side of the border that's now flowed over into Panama, and it's made it very dangerous, quite frankly, for us to have contemplated going any further than we did. So it was an easy decision from that perspective, but still a tough pill to swallow.
You figure that's the route we originally had planned? That was the route to go, originally. Yeah, just about there.
This is in a high point. We are here in a high point.
They cannot cross the Darien Gap. They will not reach their angels. They will go back to Canada. A month later, there are changes. Dave is moving with his family to Switzerland to take up his new job. John, feeling hemmed in, wants to step back a bit from his business. Niels is selling his house and much of what's in it. He feels he's carrying too much stuff. And as for the angels...
We were worried about Norberto and Bienvenida. We were able to get a contact in Colombia to try to find them, and finally, through them, we received a letter from Norberto. Dear friends, after you left, Bienvenida and I got married. Then her mother came and took her away. She found another man. Life was difficult on the farm. The truth is, my heart was broken. I left the mountains and moved to the city of Cartagena. I sell bread on the street with my son. I don't like being alone. Please come and visit me. If you want, we can go to my old farm in the mountains. Your friend, Norberto.